Hello there guys, this is Teacher Krishna and welcome to our next class for the third unit. Of course, this is a class that is part of BYS School that is intended for 8th BYS. The subject, just like you know, is science, and of course we are working on week number 23 today. Thank you a lot for coming and let's go over our presentation. So remember to have your notebook with you in order to make today's summary. And these are the parts that you have to include in your summary. Date, ending mind, title, of course the summary itself, and some extra decoration in your notebook. And today we're going to be studying lesson number 2, clouds. You're going to find this topic in pages 122 to 125. And the ending mind for today is the following. Describe how clouds form as well as the 3 types of clouds. A very simple objective. Make sure to write it down in your notebook. So let's start. What activities do you have to do today? First of all, watch this YouTube video and make the summary in your notebook. Then, you need to read pages 120 to 125 and complement your summary. Also, it is necessary for you to complete the book's exercises. Very important, we are going to complete the exercises in 125 during the mid-session, but make sure to complete the exercises in pages 122, 123, and 124. And lastly, today we have a very nice activity, which is cooking. So what do you have to cook? You have to cook some cloud models and take pictures, paste them in your notebook, and add a small description. All right, guys, so I want you to be very creative with the materials that you have at home. So, of course, right now we're going to be studying the types of clouds, right, as well as their characteristics. So, when would you finish? What I want you to do is to go to your kitchen and, of course, try to find some materials that you can use in order to make one dish. It's not necessary that you make like 3 or 4 different things. It can be like one single dish. And in your dish, you can have different parts that you can identify as different clouds. I don't know, you can use some cream, you can use some eggs. What else? In case you have yogurt or in case you have some raisins, you can use them as well to represent the types of clouds, all right? So be creative and have some fun in your kitchen. I wish you the best of luck. And of course, we're going to discuss a little bit about your experience during the mid-session, all right? And of course, when you finish with your dish, please take a picture and paste it in your notebook. And of course, you need to add a small description to each one of them, like, this is type of cloud number 1. And these are some of its characteristics. Okay, this one is type of cloud number 2. And these are its characteristics, okay? So that'll be pretty much the activities that you need to do today. In case you have any questions, you can always contact me in WhatsApp. Let's continue. So let's start with clouds. It is a very simple topic. So clouds are mostly made of fog and mist. And of course, when we talk about fog and mist, we're talking about water vapor or water that has evaporated. They form when water vapor in the air condenses to form liquid water or ice crystals. The process is called condensation. So we already studied the water cycle. So after the water is evaporated and it goes right at the top of the atmosphere, then it is going to cool down because remember that when the higher you go, the colder temperatures you are going to find. And of course, when it is pretty cold in the atmosphere, the water vapor is going to start getting colder and colder until it becomes a cloud, most likely. Mm-hmm. Or if it's just way too cold, it's going to form ice crystals. And 2 conditions are required: cold temperature and water particles in the air. Pretty simple and pretty much what I just mentioned right now. Now we're going to talk about some roles. Oh, and here we have a very beautiful picture of what we know in science as frost. But what is it? Let's go to this section. So the role of cooling. Cold air can hold less water vapor. When air reaches the dew point, condensation begins. So we have a very important term, which is dew point. And dew point is basically when the air has a very cold temperature. And it is as cold for water to change its state from a gas to a liquid or to a solid in some cases. So what happens if the dew point is above the freezing point? Then water is produced. But what happens if the dew point or the temperature is below the freezing point? Then ice crystals are going to be produced right away. Also, we have the role of particles. Water vapor condenses in clouds, but they need particles of salt crystals, dust from soil, or smoke. It condenses in solid surfaces, such as windows. All right, so something very important is that, of course, there needs to be water vapor in the atmosphere if we want clouds to be generated. But they can also be salt crystals or dust from soil as well. And in this role of particles, we have two divisions. The first one is dew. What's dew? It is liquid water that condenses onto a cooler surface. So let's suppose that you have the leaf of a plant, and there is water vapor floating around, and the temperature drastically decreases. So if it is not below the freezing point, then what's going to happen is that water is going to start forming on the leaf of the plant. But we also have frost, and it is ice that forms on a solid surface. And of course, the picture that we have on our right now is a very clear example of frost. So instead of producing water, then the water vapor is directly turned into ice. And if it forms at the top of an object, just like the leaves that we can see right here, it's something that we are going to call frost. And now we're going to go with what are the three main types of clouds. Scientists classify clouds according to their shape. Usually, each type of cloud is strongly related to the weather conditions of the place. The three types of clouds are cirrus, cumulus, and stratus. All right, this is very important. One more time. It is cirrus, cumulus, and stratus. Those are the three types of clouds. And of course, those are the three types of clouds that you need to represent in your cooking model. All right, so you have cirrus clouds, and they are wispy and feathery. This terminology comes from a term that means coral. So, like someone with corally hair, like this type of clouds are somehow similar. We're going to see a picture later on, so don't worry about it. And they are made of ice crystals and form at an altitude of 6 kilometers. Those will be the first ones. Then we have some other ones that are like in between the three types of clouds, but it is always necessary to study them. The clouds that we have right here are altocumulus and altostratus. These clouds form between 2 and 6 kilometers. They form below cirrus clouds and above cumulus clouds. These clouds indicate precipitation. So, of course, since they are pretty big and they are pretty large, they are going to indicate that it's going to rain. And the prefix alto means high. Of course, since you are Spanish speakers, it will be a little bit easier for you to understand this terminology, alto, which means like high. Then we have the cumulus clouds, which is another type of cloud. These clouds may seem to be similar to cotton. They form at about 2 kilometers high. They may extend up to 18 kilometers upwards. So even though they form at 2 kilometers, it's possible for them to reach up to 18 kilometers upwards. So they have a very large space to cover. We have cumulonimbus clouds, which are towering clouds with flat tops that can produce thunderstorm. So if at any time you can actually look at a cloud that is producing a thunderstorm, you are going to know that that is a cumulonimbus cloud. All right, and notice you still have to read the last pages like always in the presentation, right? So there you are going to find the last type of cloud. And right over here, we are going to find some of the clouds that we already talked about. So we already have the cirrus clouds. And just like you can notice, they remind us a little bit of what we know as curl, like someone with curly hair, right? We also have the cirrocumulus, we have the altocumulus. And interestingly, right here, we have the cumulonimbus cloud. So these type of clouds are the ones that can actually produce thunderstorms. And of course, one of the ones that you are going to be finding out about in the pages that you have to read are going to be the stratus clouds. All right, guys, so that's basically today's session with today's topic. So make sure to go back to the activities section where you need to follow the instructions and of course, completing all of the activities. And remember that the summary and everything has to be done in your notebook. You need to complete the books exercises. And very important, make sure to do your cooking models today, all right? And just like I was telling you, be creative. Look for different things. Like if you have some cheese, you can use the cheese to represent some cirrus clouds. Like you can actually make, how do you call this one? You can boil an egg. Then you can actually break it down and of course make it into pieces in order to represent the altocumulus. You can use some cream in order to represent the cumulonimbus clouds. And for the stratus cloud, I don't know, if you might have some jelly around, you can probably cut a little piece of jelly and of course shape it as a stratus cloud and so on and so forth. Like, be creative, guys. Like, use what you have in your kitchen to make the model. And of course, remember to take the picture. That'll be about it for today, guys. Thank you a lot for coming and for the great effort you do into every single day's lesson. So I will be meeting you around during the live session that we're having in a couple of minutes. Any question, I'm available on WhatsApp. So goodbye, guys. Take care.